Hello, friends and fellow VEDSies, and welcome back to VEDS. So right now, in the D&D game that I'm currently running, my players are going through a heist arc. And to gain inspiration as their DM, I've been doing some research on some famous heists throughout history. Which is what brings us to what I'm talking about today, which is by far one of the most interesting heists that I have researched so far. And that is the crown jewels as stolen by Thomas Blood. Listen, y'all, Thomas Blood was a madman. This guy was born into Irish aristocracy. And when the First English Civil War broke out, he initially sided with the king, and then when he saw things were going the parliamentarians' way, he switched over to fight with Cromwell, and that worked out for him until it didn't. He got a title and he got even more land and wealth than he already had. However, once King George II came to power and killed Cromwell, he stripped all of the rebellious aristocrats of their titles, which left our boy Thomas Blood with a little bit of angst and especially a little bit of anger towards the English. He decided to exercise some of that anger by storming the castle of Dublin, or at least trying to. Word got out before he could exercise this. A lot of his co-conspirators were hung, and so he fled the country. However, he would not be deterred. He would try and fail to kidnap the Duke of Ireland. Luckily, he wasn't implicated in this, but because of his treachery in the First Civil War and because of his attempt to storm the castle, he was still a wanted man, which makes you think he would want to lie low. Nope, he has too much main character energy. He decided, nah, it's time for me to steal the crown jewels. At the time, the crown jewels were being kept in the Tower of London. So he came up with an alternate persona of a local parson and then hired an actress to pretend to be his wife. Okay, they go into the Tower of London to visit the jewels, kind of like a sightseeing touristy thing. There's only one guard there who's a 70-year-old man. The wife takes ill, and you think, oh, the wife is distracting the guard. Thomas is just gonna steal the jewels real quick, and it's gonna be, just a simple smash and grab. No, that would be far too simple for good old Thomas. No, he uses his wife's sickness to ingratiate himself to the guard, and eventually find out that the guard has a daughter who is ready to be wed. Well, wouldn't you know, good old Parson Blood has a son who should be wed. So they go back and forth for a couple weeks, Thomas building up trust with this guard, and eventually, saying, hey, I'd like to meet your daughter, I'd like to finalize this engagement, that would be really great. That's when Thomas and some accomplices decide to strike, going to meet this guard at night, innocently enough, and then they kidnap him, jump him, beat him severely, stab him, leave him for dead while they are taking the jewels. Thomas actually smashes the crown while doing this. A lot of the jewels pop out, but they eventually get everything, just stuff it in their pockets, and they're gonna go. But the son of the guard is going to visit the guard that night. And when he gets there, the guard calls out about the theft. This whole chase ensues, and eventually Thomas does get caught and gets brought back to the tower, this time as one of its occupants, which anyone who knows anything about British history knows that's not a spot you want to be in. Okay, so this should be like strike 3 for Thomas, right? You only get so many chances to do stupid stuff. Eventually, consequences have to happen. Well, I mean, I wouldn't be talking about him if he just got beheaded, would I? No, you see, Thomas appeals to the king. He's already been pegged as a traitor. He's already tried to storm a castle. Now he's stolen the jewels. How does talking to the king help? Well, he goes, he confesses to that, along with, trying to kidnap the duke. So, crimes he didn't even have to fess up to, he did. And he just had the silver tongue and the roguish charm to get the king to like him. And so, after talking to the king, he ends up getting land and a title back and a yearly salary, which is insane, absolutely bonkers. And he lives out the majority of his life in the royal court, chilling it with the rest of the aristocracy as if nothing has happened. He didn't fully escape controversy. There were still a lot of people who didn't like him, unsurprisingly. Eventually, near the end of his life, he did wind up in a lot of debt. However, He died, fell into a coma, and died before he had to pay any of that off. Seems a little convenient. People at the time certainly thought so. They thought he had faked his death, which would have gone along with the other things he did. But no, he died. It's just one of those stories in history where it's like every point doesn't make sense. Like, this guy should have been killed so many times and he kept escaping death. And then eventually, when he was going to have some financial consequences come down on him, he escaped those too by dying. He's this kind of archetypical figure who you kind of can't help but like, but he's also kind of a bad guy, right? Like, he really did hurt that guard. And you can just read this as, well, he got away with this because he was a rich noble. And even if he had his money and stuff taken away, a peasant in his position probably couldn't have fooled that off, which is true. You know, history is very complicated. However, just from a purely what the hell perspective, the story of Thomas Blood is really interesting. Also, he had a son named Holcroft Blood. If you're looking for a D&D character's name, Holcroft Blood is one you should consider. So that'll do it for me, friends and fellow Vedsies. I will see you tomorrow.